All right, so it's Mother's Day 2021, May 9th. Um, and I haven't really spoken to my mother in a decade. And back in like 2015, I wrote a little something on a blog called Happy Mother's Day, Not for Everyone. And I'll leave a link for it. It's a pretty harsh look at my mother and some of her parenting skills or lack thereof. Um, of course, in there you'll learn that she was like a teen mom, and that was back in 1971, 72. She was pregnant during 71, had me in January 72. And I understand that wasn't a great time. It's never a great time to be a teen, pregnant teen, but back then she was, people wanted her to have an abortion, and she wasn't able to finish high school, so she had a lot stacked against her. And I alluded to that when I wrote that piece, and that's like 6 years ago now. I wrote that. And of course, I've evolved a little bit as a human being, and I still hold all that very true. I don't have animosity towards her. It's not about forgiveness or anything like that. It's life. Life happens, but when you make mistakes, my philosophy is you don't. Um, some people go to Jesus for forgiveness, like my mother, but she didn't screw over Jesus. you know. So it hurts a relationship when you have someone there that is pretending that a lot of things didn't happen or won't acknowledge it. And all it is like, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry. That's all it really is about. But I wanted to do something in contrast to what I wrote 6 years ago. I was going to write it, and I have notes here, so you can see me kind of stray off. This is because I made myself some notes, and it was important to recognize that I, my mother, first of all, it'd be Mother's Day, and that I understand and I appreciate all the um, non-traditional ways, traditional surroundings that I was in. I appreciate that my mom wasn't a typical person in a typical environment, and then I became a typical kid. Whereas I became very resourceful. I could, find my way around the city when I was in single digits. Like I would ride the bus, back in Calgary. It's a big city back in 1970s, and the little kid just, but she had dated someone who was a bus driver, so then I became used to being very, very resourceful. Had to make do without a bed a few times in school because, the sleepovers didn't work out and my mom would be gone. And it's not all her fault either. It's just circumstances. And it was, if you leave a kid at a kid's house, you can't get a hold of someone back then. No cell phones, things like that. Just trust that you'll be home at a certain time, and that's that. So I got to pause. All right, so apologize for that. Anyway, this is really, I know people lurk and creep on my stuff just to kind of know what's going on. That's why I'm transparent. I don't block people and things like that. So this is just a thank you to my mom. It's I wrote here, is anyone above forgiveness? It's not above forgiveness because I like, oh, he hates me. I've had my mom come to my door. Why do you hate me so much? And it's like manipulation, trying to guilt trip me, projecting something where I've got to all of a sudden defend myself instead of you just dealing with what you can deal with. And that's not cool. That's not how you deal with things. But I want you to know that I have a clear understanding of your background, and that you know you didn't have a manual on how to raise me or any child for that matter. And when the girls came, you got a little more experience. But you know, it's just really hard to like really sit back and think positive, and that's what I really want to do. So I can thank you for keeping a roof over It's like I'm trying to, look at things. Of course, it wasn't always like that. I do remember when I was young being loved and feeling important, but that faded. And but regardless of that, your character, your behavior, all the ways that you did things contributed to who I am. And I like who I am. I'm a good dad. I'm a courteous, thoughtful, respectful partner. I learn from your mistakes. I learn from the mistakes of the people around you. All the abuse. Do you know what it was like watching you get abused? It wasn't easy. It's your mom is your life. I don't have that same emotion as I did when I was a child, but you're getting your ass kicked by this man, and it was never. That just was life. That was normal, and I probably thought all kids had to go through that, so it wasn't anything special. Sure wasn't fun, but that emotion was a natural emotion in my life. Fear, you know, being afraid of, seeing the car in the driveway, not seeing the car in the driveway wouldn't make you feel good, things like that. And it's, crappy thing, but then you learn to be resourceful, you learn to be creative in your mind, you become humorous. I've got a wicked sense of humor. That's how I dealt with all of that stuff. It's not like I said, oh, I got a plan, this is how I'm going to deal with it, but it's a deflection. If you're feeling pain, you don't want to nurture that. You make fun of things. And so people think I'm an asshole and stuff like that because of how I dealt with my life. And I brought that up, and it was with sarcasm and all these things, but it's harsh. What you're doing, or what I'm doing truly, is making fun of other situations to take the attention away from my own situation. And sometimes it was at the expense of others, not specifically like I was the bully and pointing out people specifically, but I made comments, observations mainly, and they were factual. People don't like facts. Um, so, however, that all my sense of humor and all that came to develop, it was my surroundings, and you're a funny woman. So it was, I like that, and I could probably do something with it if I didn't have this introvert part, which is the part that I was shut up, shut up. So it's interesting, but had you, I remember you saying I'm a nonconformist, um, all these things. I didn't know what that meant as a kid. What the hell? You tell me, don't tell grandma we're on welfare. Why would I even know what welfare is? I'm a child, you know. But it's probably because you wanted me to tell grandma, so you could get some cash or something like that. Manipulation. It's not cool, especially using children to do that. But you had to survive, right? You didn't want to be honest. So I've learned to be resourceful, and here I am, nearly 50, and I haven't had a typical job in like 7 years, and before that, quite a while, my ventures and stuff. So I wouldn't have been able to do stuff like that if I hadn't grown up with you. Um, Probably be scared, But I was a severe mama's boy. I had to break away from all that kind of mindset, which is a mindset that allows a man to be manipulated. If you're a mama's boy and you didn't have a good balanced parent situation, that's going to damage relationships. Um, it's a like a covert incest sort of thing that can happen with that. Um, and it's something you need to be aware of. It can happen on the other side too with a father-daughter relationship. Um, you know, so as a parent, you need to be aware of what you're doing, how you're treating. And I was a surrogate partner. My mom was always on my arm. You know, um, and when I started breaking away from that, I was just I was kind of excessive. Like I should have been out dating. I was in my friggin' 30s. I had to break up with my mother pretty much, and that's so much for a happy Mother's Day thing. But this is just reality, and I do appreciate all the weird shit because I like who I am. I don't like that I can't focus, ADD and stuff like that. But um, that's just I have to figure that out. Um, but it's too bad. It's Mother's Day, and I really have no. I'm very kind of neutral. I saw you at Walmart a few years ago. You saw me, but you pretended you didn't. And then I got your attention. You acted like you usually do, which is I find very funny, which is unfortunate. But if anybody thinks I'm being harsh and stuff like that, you could definitely give some evidence as to why I'm like this. And actually, these are just facts. They sound horrible, right? Oh, he's trashing his mom. No, these are just that's information. This isn't like me embellishing or really attacking. I didn't really need to talk about it. It's just obviously it's unfortunate because as a parent, I look at what I would want for my child, and that's just a natural thing. Like I don't need to be told what's good for my daughter or not good for her. So excuses like I did my best, which was the last thing I really heard from my mother, um, was weak, you know. And I'm not going to get into all of that. That's not what this is for. Um, but I do appreciate it. All the challenges, all of the garbage. It's taken a while and it's still in process, but it's made me be definitely a well-rounded person because I learn a lot from it. I learn about myself. I've had to change certain behaviors, accept certain realities. Um, acknowledge certain wrongs, and I love teaching my daughter all that stuff. And had not had a need for that because of your behavior, then I would be as good of a parent as I am now. Um, I love teaching my daughter to take responsibility, to put yourself in the person's shoes. How would you feel if someone did this to you, and what would you do? What could be done to make you feel better? You can never always just make it go away, but you can be a genuine person and say, "Hey, I do not mean to hurt you," blah 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 blah, whatever the situation is. I don't think blah blah blah, but um, depending on the situation, hurting your friend's feelings, saying something to somebody, like being rude, disregarding, neglectful, all these things. You just like, how would you learn to have empathy, and empathy is like number one. If you don't have empathy, you're going to be missing some things in life. So through all the experiences and because of you, I ended up with a woman who was just like you, who we all know is, and now I recognize all these things, and so I can teach my daughter how to recognize these things, how to recognize these things, how to own yourself, not be manipulated, and be just true to yourself. So relationships sometimes don't work, but never compromise yourself, know your boundaries. And I've had to establish all that. I had to rid myself of things and establish my boundaries. And now there's people that are not in my life anymore, because I'm not going to have people manipulate me. Um, I don't talk to Priscilla. Why? Because she was like, "Oh, I thought you forgave me." I did forgive you, but then you say things that don't make me want to be around you. You try to manipulate my daughter when I'm not around. And I'm not going to tolerate that. That's very toxic. And so, anyway, this video kind of went off. Obviously, I guess I don't have a lot of joy in my heart, but I do have a lot of appreciation for my mother's, you know, unique way of living. Um, and I understand your past, your dad, your family, splitting up the U.S. and Canada, your sisters behind. It's all horrible stuff, and you left a very horrible situation. And you know, that's a really bad card that you got out there. And you know, just think what could be done to make you feel better about that situation, which can't be done because both parties involved are no longer here, right? You know, what you needed from your dad or what you needed from me, maybe from your mom, maybe to feel some closure. Probably didn't get that. You know, I don't need closure, um, but you know, I've tried, I've attempted to reach out to you, Candy, and you know, so you could have a relationship with my daughter, and you're just a coward. Um, it's silly, you know, because I know you didn't like grandma a lot, and yet I was able to have a really good relationship with her, independent of your relationship with her, and I was hoping you'd be mature enough to recognize that you could do the same. But it's your loss. I mean, I don't get a babysitter. I'm not, you know, her mom's MIA, and I'm with her every day, and I'm cool with that. That's what I want. But I also want her to know that, you know, I'm bigger than like, oh, you can't see her because I don't like her. I'm not like that at all. And I don't talk shit about you. Um, you know, I don't need to. You know, your absence is enough for her. She recognizes it just like she recognizes it in her mother. So, you know, you live in the same town and you make zero attempts. So, what else is that than a coward? If you really want a relationship, you would, but it's not easy, right? Because if you think, oh, I'm gonna have to face Jim and blah 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 blah, well, I feel the same way. I don't really like seeing you because it's just like, well, look at this woman, you know. But you brought me in this world and you didn't abort me, and you kept me fed, you know, and kept me alive. So thank you for that. I appreciate it because now I can keep my daughter alive. Give her the benefit of my experience and knowledge, and it's not just hearsay. And I wish I could help you, but I'm like, yeah, I've been there. For most things now, I can say I've been there. This is, I know exactly what you're going through. Let's work through it. So thank you for that. Thank you. Really, you've given me the gift of being an amazing father. And regardless of all the challenges all thrown my way, I'm still a really great father. I never gave up. So that's probably due to you.